Our story this week is Dragons and Dinosaurs by Meg Moss. Our genre is expository nonfiction. Remember that this genre gives information on a topic in an interesting way, so as you read, look for information that's divided into sections with headings, photographs, and illustrations with captions. So look at the details, and those together will make up the main idea. How do we know when we are right when we imagine the past? Well, we really don't. We weren't there. When it comes to dinosaurs, scientists have only bones and fossils, and now computers to help them understand how these ancient beasts might have looked. Until very recently, people didn't know what the world was like before humans. They didn't understand that entire species could disappear from the earth or go extinct. No humans ever saw a living dinosaur, but our ancestors did find and wonder about dinosaur bones. Prehistory mystery. Ancient people had their own ways of explaining the strange bones they found. They thought the bones were the remains of giants, dragons, sea monsters, and other creatures you read about today in fairy tales and myths. Consider the legend of the griffin, a fantastic cross between a lion and an eagle once believed to live in the desert of China. People all over ancient world, Asia, the Middle East, and Greece and Rome, told stories of these griffins. Each culture imagined them differently, but most ancient art, shows them with gigantic beaks, claws, wings, and cat-like bodies. Now take a look at the skull of a small dinosaur we call Protoceratops. Scientists have found many of these skulls in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, a region in China, where Protoceratops lived about 80 million years ago. Protoceratops had a huge bird-like beak designed to chop up the plants it ate and to defend itself. A large frill on its head and bony bumps on its cheeks, probably both a form of protective armor, give its skull a monstrous look. Ancient people who saw these skulls guessed that they were the remains of winged, lion-like birds that guarded gold in the desert mountains. They thought they were griffins. So you can see there the real Protoceratops. Scientists think so, but even if the shape is right, we may never know what color it was. We can only guess based on modern reptiles. So when you look at the skull, it's easy to see why people thought Protoceratops was a fantastic bird-like creature. The ancient people were not far from the truth. These were the bones of amazing creatures, though not human giants, nor dragons, nor griffins. In the 1800s, scientists began to recognize that ancient bones and fossils belonged to long extinct animals, which no one, of course, had ever seen. Mystery deepened. What did these animals really look like? The task of arranging the bones in the proper order and accurately imagining the flesh and muscles that covered them was quite a challenge. The terrible lizards. Pretend for a moment that you have never seen a bicycle before. You have no idea what it does or how it is used. Now suppose you stumble upon a funny-looking triangular leather thing sticking out of the earth. Next to it lies a covered metal bar with plastic ends along a piece of rubber. What could these things be? Are they parts of a single contraption? Are they related to anything you know about? How do they fit together, and how many and what pieces are missing? This gives you an idea of the questions scientists ask when they find dinosaur bones. Just over 100 years ago, the first scientists to study then thought these bones belonged to gigantic ferocious lizards that once roamed the earth. A brilliant English scientist named Richard Owen recognized that these creatures were different enough for modern reptiles to deserve their own name. He called them dinosaurs, from the Greek for terrible lizard. Though Owen was correct to group them under one name, he didn't realize that some dinosaurs were small and harmless. And though dinosaurs belonged to the reptile family, they were very different from lizards. Iguanodon was among the first dinosaur to be scientifically described. Its discoverer, Gideon Mantell, believed that the very large teeth and bones he found must have belonged to a huge iguana-like creature whose legs sprawled out to the side like those of a lizard. Mantell thought that the large pointed object his wife discovered was the creature's nose horn. Over the years, scientists changed their minds many times about the appearance of Iguanodon. Today we know that it had 4 straight legs, like a mammal, and could walk either on 2 hind legs or on all fours. That spiky object, mistaken for a horn, was really a long, sharp toenail. The case of the deceptive dinosaur. Today we know that more than 1,000 species of dinosaurs and others are being discovered every year. Paleontologists, scientists who study bones and fossils to learn about the past, have a tough job keeping up with all the bones. When bones are first discovered, it's sometimes difficult to know what animal they belong to. Is it a new dinosaur or one we already know about? And when the bones of more than one creature are jumbled together, scientists must be careful to separate and identify each animal. Take the case of poor old Apatosaurus, whose name means deceptive lizard. Now there's a dinosaur with identity crisis. This huge 30-ton creature was first discovered and named in 1877. 2 years later, the same scientist examined another set of Apatosaurus bones and thought they belonged to a different type of dinosaur, which he named Brontosaurus, thunder lizard. With its long, graceful neck and whip-like tail, Brontosaurus became a familiar favorite among dinosaur lovers. In 1974, scientists decided that Brontosaurus was really Apatosaurus, that there was no Brontosaurus after all. Everyone is excited about the discovery of Apatosaurus. One newspaper published this picture of the huge creature looking into an 11th-story window. To make matters worse, Apatosaurus lost its head, honestly, because the original skeleton was found without a head. No one was sure what Apatosaurus' skull looked like. For nearly 100 years, models and drawings in museums all over the world showed it with no head or the wrong head. Finally, the skull was located in a museum basement, and Apatosaurus could once again hold its head up proudly. Or maybe not. Recent evidence indicates that Apatosaurus and other dinosaurs with long, elegant necks may not have been able to lift their heads far off the ground. For many years, experts believed that these vegetarian dinosaurs reached their necks into the treetops to dine like giraffes. Recently, however, computer modeling has revealed that the positioning of their neck bones would have prevented them from raising their heads any higher than about 12 feet. While it may have been able to rear up on its hind legs to snag treetop treats, more often Apatosaurus probably reached its long neck across creeks or other obstacles as it grazed for food along the ground. We finally have a complete picture of Pontosaurus, but there is a lot more to learn. Noisy trails. What would you do with a 50-foot, 3,500-pound tail? Scratch your own nose? Go fishing? Apatosaurus may have had a better idea. Computer modeling shows that these dinosaurs could have cracked their tails like a whip. 3 feet thick at the body, the tail thinned to a narrow tip about the width of a human thumb. As the dino lashed it, a wave of energy would have traveled down to the tip, arriving at a speed faster than that of sound, more than 750 miles per hour. When something moves that fast, it breaks the sound barrier, creating a loud noise. A cracking dino tail would have made a huge thundering clap, loud enough perhaps to scare off an enemy. But some scientists think that such supersonic tail wagging is unlikely because it would have hurt or damaged the dino's tail. After all, they remind us, just because the computer says it was possible doesn't mean it actually happened that way. Listening to the bones. Computers have become a valuable tool to help paleontologists picture dinosaurs better. Scientists can now even hear what dinosaurs might have sounded like. Consider Passerolophus, an odd-looking fellow, a large bony crest extended from the top of the head back over its shoulders. Handsome perhaps, but what did the crest do? Some scientists think it may have been a weapon or even a snorkel, but no evidence supports these ideas. How about a trombone? When a nearly complete Passerolophus skull was found in New Mexico, computer scientists and paleontologists joined forces to see if the head crest might actually have become a noisemaker. Snorkeling Brachiosaurus. Apatosaurus and its cousin, the longnecks, weighed more than any other creature that ever lived. For a long time, scientists thought that the only way these huge animals could have moved their massive bodies must have been in the water. Their long necks would keep their heads up so that they could breathe as they walked along a lake or river bottom, grazing on soft aquatic plants. But modern scientists wondered, wouldn't the water's pressure collapse the great creature's lungs and disable his heart? Probably so, which made scientists imagine that the long necks may have wandered on land after all. New research reveals yet another possibility. Sometimes along trackways where dinosaur footprints have been preserved, scientists find only front footprints. In ancient times, these trackways may have been underwater. Could the long necks actually float, touching the bottom with only their front feet? That way, they could live in water without their giant bodies being deeply submerged. Computer modeling shows that this may have been possible, especially since we now know that the creatures had tiny air sacs along their spines that would help them stay afloat. The catch, if they lost contact with the bottom, they would probably tip over. They took scans of the inside crust with special imaging equipment so that they wouldn't have to break it open. Then they used the scans to model a 3-dimensional image of the crust. They found that it was filled with a complicated series of hollow tubes and chambers. When the computer created the sounds made by blowing air through the crust, the scientists heard an eerie, deep rumbling tone. Were the scientists hearing a sound not made on Earth since the dinosaurs lived there? Who could know? The computer imaging shows the complicated tubes and chambers in the fossils of the Passerolophus crest. If we only had a brain. Sue, the largest, most complete Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton, ever found lives at Chicago's Field Museum. To learn more about Sue's brain, experts there packed up the skull, left, and shipped it off to CT scanning. Done with powerful X-rays, the scanning created detailed images of the inside and outside of Sue's head. While the brain itself is long gone, these images below enable scientists to judge its size with the help of a computer. Looking at the inside of the skull, they can tell if we only had a brain. Sue, the largest, most complete Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton ever found, lives at Chicago's Field Museum. To learn more about Sue's brain, experts there packed up her skull and shipped it off to CT scanning. Done with powerful X-rays, the scanning created detailed images of the inside and outside of Sue's head. While the brain itself is long gone, these images enable scientists to judge its size with the help of the computer. Looking at the inside of the skull, they can tell that the brain was about a foot long. It appears that nearly half of it, shown in yellow in the lower right, was used for smelling. This week we have irregular verbs and grammar. An irregular verb does not end in ed in the past tense. Some irregular verbs show past time by using a different form of the main verb with the helping verb has, had, or had. So we have the examples here for ring. The telephone rang while you were outside. You can see that they changed the form of the word ring to rang. 2, it has rung twice since then. There we have the word rung. 3, our tour of the museum began in the ancient history room. Begin is the word, and it's going to be changed into the regular verbs. 4, Jules brought his notebook and pencil, so we changed to bring to brought. 5, he took notes on the exhibits, so to take, past tense is took. 6, I thought the dinosaur skeletons were the coolest part of the tour, so to think in past tense is thought. Okay, so here we have many common verbs have irregular past tense forms. Begin, where, know, and break are a few of these. So you can see here how they wrote begin. She begins, that's present, begins it. She began it. And then past tense, she has begun it. So wear, she wears it. She wore it. She had worn it. 3, she knows it. She knew it. She had known it. And then 4, she breaks it, she broke it, she had broken it. So the first section is present tense, then we have past tense, and then we have past tense with helping verbs. Okay, so here we have a list of irregular verbs, and it shows you the verb, the present tense form of the verb, the past tense form of the verb, and then the past tense with the helping verb. So make sure you review this chart. And then let's look at the examples. Number 1 is begin. He begins there. He began there. He had begun there. 2 is the form, the word be. He is here, so be changes to present tense is. The past tense was. He was here. And then past tense with helping verb. He has been here. Number 3, the verb is to know. Present tense is she knows it. Past is she knew it. Past tense with helping verb is she had known it. And 4 is bring. They bring some, present tense. Past tense is they brought some. And then past tense with helping verb is they have brought some. This is grammar workbook page 91. So the first part says to write the past tense form of each present tense verb. So number 1, the past tense form of go is went. Number 2, past tense form of begin is began. 3, past tense form of wear is wore. And 4, past tense form of throw is threw. For the bottom part, they want you to rewrite each sentence and use the correct past tense form of the verb in the parentheses. So the word in the parentheses for 5 is think. Ancient people thought the huge bones belonged to giants. So thought is the past tense form. Number 6, they blank wrong. So the word is be. You change that to were. They were wrong. And number 7, the verb is find. The scientist found the skull in the museum's basement. And then make sure you do the rest on your own. This is grammar page 92. It says to complete the chart with the correct form of each verb. So remember, we're going to have the verb, present tense, past tense, and then past tense with helping verb. Number 1, where is a verb. Present tense is where or wears, depending on how you're using it. And then past tense is wore. Past tense with helping verb could be had worn or has worn. To go, and present tense is go or goes. Past tense is went. And then the past tense with the helping verb could be has gone or had gone. And then 3, known. The present tense is know or knows. Past tense is knew. Past tense with helping verb could be has known or had known. There, that depends on how you use them, so you can use different helping verbs. And then 4 is break. Present tense is break or breaks. Past tense is broke. And then past tense with helping verb is had broken. 5 is begin. Present tense is begin or begins. Past tense is began. Past tense with helping verb is had begun or has begun. 6. Throw is a verb. Present tense is throw or throws. The past tense is threw. And the past tense with the helping verb is had thrown, has thrown.